Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending upon where you're watching from. This is your girl Nabo again, coming your way with another recipe. It's your famous jollof rice with a bit of a twist. Have you ever had cabbage in your jollof rice before with some grilled chicken with some suya pepper? All right, let's get started. So this is a non-blend jollof rice with some cabbage. So I had my chopped tomatoes that had cooked down. I normally, when I've got time at home doing nothing, I cook my tomatoes down. It saves me a lot of time when I'm going to do my sauces or my jollof rice. So I had my cooked down tomatoes that I got out from the freezer, let it out for it to thaw a little bit, and then I used it. So these are my spices I'm going to use, as you can see on the plate, but you can use any spice of choice that you really enjoy. So I had some bay leaves, some ginger pepper, parsley, white pepper, and some nutmeg. And as usual, you've got your base, which is your oil, your ginger and your garlic, which I chopped very nicely, and I fried it for about 3-4 minutes. And then I added my tomatoes because I was going to use powdered pepper. I didn't add the pepper before the tomatoes, but that's fine. So I cooked my tomatoes further down for about 8 minutes, and then when it was ready, then I added my powdered pepper. So that's what I did here, but you can use any tomato of your choice. So I covered it, cooked it down, as I said, for about 8 minutes. And then I had some pureed tomatoes on the side, which I added. It's optional. If you don't have it, you don't have to stress over it. If you do, then you can use it. It gives it a very nice color. So I prefer to add my pureed tomatoes after I add the fresh pepper. So I added my powdered chili here, just a teaspoonful, because I didn't want it to be too peppery or too spicy. If you add a bit more pepper, that's fine. You can add a little bit more. Then I added my bay leaves, cover it for it to cook for about 5 minutes. For the bay leaves to infuse, it gives it a very nice flavor. So if you do have bay leaves, try and use it in your tomato stew. It goes a long way to give it a very nice flavor. Then I added my spices here. I added my thyme, my parsley, my white pepper. It was only the nutmeg and the rosemary I left out for it to go in a bit later. Then I added a bit of salt, normally salt to taste, but because I'm going to add the cabbage and the rice with a bit of water, I added a bit more because it's going to dissolve, or you might not even have the taste in it if you don't add a little bit more. But don't overdo it, because if it's not enough, you can always add a little bit more. So you could see me tasting it there. Then I added my nutmeg and my rosemary into my sauce. Left it for it to incorporate, and then that was my washed rice. I used a AAA to do my jollof rice, but you can use any rice of choice. If you want the basmati, you can use the basmati. If you want AAA, brown rice, any rice that you prefer to use for your jollof rice, you can use that. Stirred it. Left it on low heat for a bit for all the rice to get infused into the sauce before I added my hot water from the kettle. If you do have stock from maybe the chicken or the turkey that you're going to use to eat your jollof rice, you can add a stock. But I had already prepared chicken, so I used the stock for something else. So I had no stock, but that's fine. I used just some hot water and add it to my jollof rice. Lower the heat so it doesn't burn. You stir in between. So because I didn't want to overcook my cabbage or my veg, I waited for the rice to be half cooked. Then I added my chopped cabbage into my jollof rice. Are you going to try this? If you haven't, try it. And it's another way of getting the teenagers to eat their veggies, because sometimes they do run away from it, even though it's very good for them. So I added my cabbages into my jollof rice, left it on low heat, covered it for it to steam. You just have to stir it from time to time so that it does not burn. Food was almost ready. I was going to add some ripe plantain, and you can see there I fried my ripe plantain very nicely. Cut it to the desired shapes. And when the plantain is frying, don't forget your rice is on fire. So you need to stir in between so that it does not burn. This was my grilled chicken already, looking nice and pretty. And that was my suya pepper spice. We decided to eat that with a suya pepper chicken with a bit of fresh onions sprinkled on top. You can eat this with chips or anything, but we did it for the jollof rice. And ta-da! That was my served or plated jollof rice with some salad. I used some fat-free vinaigrette instead of mayonnaise, which is quite healthy, onto my salad. Drop it there and it tastes amazing. Are you going to try this recipe? Let me know in the comment section. Thank you very much, and subscribe to our channel so you can have a bit more to watch. Thank you. Bye.